welcome back to my channel. My name is Em, and today we are starting a 25 in 5 reading vlog. In the States, it's a long weekend. President's Day is on Monday. I don't have work, my kids don't have school, and my kids actually have tomorrow off as well. And so I thought it might be fun to try this kind of challenge, which I have never really attempted before because it was very common on Instagram for a while when I first got on the book side of Instagram, but I had very, very small children at the time, and reading for that long just wasn't feasible. So I've never really participated, but everybody's older now, and it might be fun to see what I can do. And 25 in 5 just means I'm going to attempt to read 25 hours in 5 days. It'll be fine, right? It'll be fine. I'm not off to a super great start yet. I've only read for 46 minutes today. That's where I'm at. It's not great. And it's already 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Thursdays are my super busy days, so I didn't think I'd have a ton of success. But so far I have finished Sir Callie and the Champions of Helston by Esme Symes Smith. I was really close to finishing this last night, so I used the start this morning to finish it. And I have a vlog where I talk about this specifically, so I'll link that down below if you want to go see that. And then I also busted out another chapter of Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles, which I am reading basically a chapter a day. I'm reading it super slow, so you can see I'm not even very far into it. I need to start a new book is basically where we're at, and I think I'm gonna start Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver, which a friend of mine and I do a Galentine's book exchange every year, and we both sent each other this book, which I love. But I feel like I've been talking about this book so much, but this is a contemporary romance about 2 serial killers, basically. And I'm super intrigued, really excited for it in a weird way. Is it weird to say it's a 5-star prediction? Because it's a 5-star prediction. I also have it on audio because I used an audiobook credit for it before my friend sent me the physical copy. So I am going to go ahead and get started. I love already that there is a playlist with QR codes for Apple and for Spotify. I absolutely love that. I can't wait to hear the songs that are on here. And then there's also a very helpful list of content and trigger warnings, some fun, some serious. I did read the first chapter or 2 of an e-arc, but the e-arc was a PDF, and there were text messages between the 2 main characters that weren't in the PDF. So like the page was just blank, which is weird. So I had to DNF not DNF, but like the PDF was unreadable basically. So I have an idea of what I'm getting in for with the violence and the gore. It was a lot, but I'm a slasher girly now. I can handle it, right? Okay, let's get started. Morning, friends. It's day 2. I literally just woke up. I'm gonna do an update real quick, and then I'm gonna start reading. My coffee's still too hot to drink, so that's fine. I did not read for 5 hours yesterday. I read for 2 hours and 43 minutes, roughly. I think I need to add about 5 minutes to this because I did read for a little bit in bed once I'd put my phone away for, the night. But I did get 100 pages into Butcher and Blackbird yesterday, and all I'm gonna say right now is this book has no business being as cute as it is. It's so cute. I don't know how to describe it. It's so cute. And these are my precious babies and I want to protect them with everything I have, even though they're serial killers and they don't need my help. It's so cute and so gross. Audiobook is fantastic. Just FYI. I'll talk about it more later, but it's so good. I'm loving it so much and it makes me so happy. So that's the update, and I'm gonna start reading now. Alright, I finished Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. This book had no business being this good. It was so fun. Now, don't get me wrong, this is dark. Like, Bryn Weaver put content warnings and trigger warnings in the beginning, and I would, like, take her at her word. This is a dark book. It is also so funny. And the romance is so delightfully sweet. I don't know. And not, because it's dark. And, like, you know, there's a lot of, you know, torturing and killing of bad guys in here. So, like it's very chaotic. There is some messed up stuff, but I absolutely loved it. I'm going to give it 5 stars. I'm gonna order book 2 or pre-order book 2 because it comes out in June, and it looks like book 2 is about 2 side characters in this one. I don't want to give anything away, but I was just absolutely delighted by this. But also, reader, know thyself, because this was a lot, but it was just I loved it. I don't even know what else to tell you. Did I even say what this is about? I don't know if I said what it was about, but it's about Sloane and Rowan, who are serial killers, but good serial killers because they only kill the bad people in the world. And they meet by happenstance, and Rowan is head over heels for Sloane immediately, which also is my favorite dynamic to have in romance novels. I want the guy to be gone first. If it's a hetero romance, I want the guy to be head over heels in love first, and for the woman to be the one who's like, I'm not so sure. Because watching him win her over was such a treat. It was so good. Also, the audiobook is masterful. It's 2 narrators. So we have Lucy somebody. What's her name? Where's my phone? What's my life even right now? Okay. Lucy Rivers reads for Sloane and Joe Arden reads for Rowan. And it's great because so normally when you have an audiobook and you have dual POV in romance novels, if you have a narrator for each POV, what usually happens, is the narrator will read their character section and do all the voices in that section. Like, it's just their section. But in this one, if it was Sloane's chapter and Rowan spoke, Joe Arden said Rowan's lines. So I didn't have to listen to Lucy Rivers try to attempt a male voice. I didn't have to listen to Joe Arden try to attempt a female voice. And it made it so much better. And I need every single romance novel audiobook to do this too. Because maybe I've just not been listening to the right books on audio, but I have never had this happen in a romance novel before. And it made it so much better, because usually my big critique for a romance audiobook will be that, like, I didn't like how the male narrator did the female voices or vice versa. And I didn't have to deal with this because they just read all their parts, and it was great. And it's a little theatrical, which I loved. That might not be for everybody, but I loved that it felt like a performance and not just like somebody reading words off of a page. 5 stars for the book, 10 stars for the audiobook. It's just, and I'm so sorry. Well, this becomes my whole personality. I also need to go and look into Brynn Weaver's backlist. It looks like she primarily does dark romance. I don't know if her other ones are funny like this one is, but if they are funny, I might have a new favorite author. But this is definitely going to be one of my favorite books of the year, because I just absolutely loved it with my all everything. Oh, so good. Now I've got to emotionally recover from reading this book. I'm currently at 6 hours and 19 minutes. We had a super busy day today, which is great. We haven't had a family day like this in a while. So super fun. And I have pizza on the way. It's supposed to be movie night. Though typically with movie night I do. Oh, the cat's trying to get in. Typically with movie nights I do end up reading while the kids are watching. We're supposed to be watching, because obviously it's not just the kids. So typically I start reading, but we'll see if that happens. While we were at Barnes & Noble, I did pick up a copy of Tender is the Flesh, which I might start this weekend. I might not. I'm so nervous about that book. I do have to pick something new to start, but I'm not quite sure what that's going to be. I do have these Violent Delights on my TBR for this month, so I might start that. I might start Tender is the Flesh. I'm trying not to read any more middle grade, because middle grade March is fast approaching, so I'll have to go look. I'll have to go look at what I have, but this was great. Good morning, friends. It's Saturday. Let's do our check-in. I'm failing at this challenge a little bit. I've read for 6 hours and 45 minutes. I need to let this run for 20, because I read for about 20 minutes in bed last night after I put my phone away. It's not great. But today's my really busy work day, so we'll see what happens. I definitely did not know what to start next last night, so I kind of flailed around in bookish panic, but I think I'm gonna start These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This is a pick for a virtual book club that I'm lurking in this year so far. And I've had this on my radar for a really long time, and I've really wanted to read something by Chloe Gong for a really long time, because all of her synopses sound so good. And I think this is a Romeo and Juliet retelling, and I also have the audiobook on Hoopla. I don't think I'm going to get to read for too long this morning, because my youngest is already awake, and I just bribed them to stay in their room for another 30 minutes so I could read and have some coffee. We're going to do that and see how much reading I'm able to squeeze in today. I don't think it's going to be very much, though. Morning, friends. It's Sunday morning. No, it's not Sunday morning. Wait, let's try that again. All right, it's 1:36. Yes, this is the first update you're getting today. I pulled a muscle in my lower back yesterday afternoon, and so I am not thriving today. Hobbling along like an old lady. It's not a great look for me. And I have done very little reading. So I started the day at this much time. I think I've only read for an hour when it's all said and done. Yeah, I've been watching a lot of YouTube today. And I started a couple of novellas on my Kobo, and so I've been trying to wrap them up so that I can really focus on These Violent Delights, because I've liked it a lot so far. I'm very interested. I like the Romeo and Juliet retelling. I mean, I'm kind of a sucker for Romeo and Juliet. So I don't know, is it an unpopular opinion to say I really like Romeo and Juliet as a play? I mean, I really went through a journey with this one, because I had to read it in freshman English and hated it because I did not understand it. And I don't feel like the teacher did a good job of making it relatable. And then I went to college and majored in theater, and of course had to take a lot of Shakespeare for my theater degree. Not only acting in Shakespeare classes, but I also took a couple in-depth Shakespeare lit classes and learned in that time, or discovered in that time, that I actually really like Romeo and Juliet when it's taught correctly. And also when you see a good performance of it. I feel like most Shakespeare clicks when you see a good performance of it. Anyways, all that to say is I'm really liking these Violent Delights and I want to keep moving, but I need to finish these novellas that I'm reading. So I finished one this morning. It's called Pomegranates and it's by Priya Sharma. And this got on my radar because I was pretty, not disappointed, but maybe meh is the right word, about the Hugo nominees for last year. And only, you know, now to come find out that there's a whole bunch of shady stuff that went down with the Hugos. I'll link Angela's video if you've missed all the dirt and want to catch up. I think there's been more developments since Angela posted her video, but I'll link Angela's video down below if you want to see the dirt. Anyways, so I was kind of meh. I was whelmed, I guess, by the Hugo shortlist. Both is particularly in novel, but also in novella. Mostly because I just had read them all already, and then the one I hadn't read was a 2-star. I really hated it. And so I was kind of going through the other SFF award organizations because I already pay attention to the Nebula, but and then I looked at the Ursula K. Le Guin, which all sounded interesting, but the Ursula K. Le Guin books for this year at least leaned very literary, which isn't quite my jam. So while I'm sure they're really excellent books, I'm not quite the right reader for them. And then I remembered that they're the World Fantasy Awards. So I went over to check, and the novel list was so good. I read all but one, and I really, really liked, if not loved, all the books. The book that won the World Fantasy last year was one of my favorite books of the whole year. And so books that also kind of fell under the radar or weren't like social media darlings, which I like. Like, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for books I want these award things to give me books that I am not going to have shoved in my face on Instagram or YouTube. I feel like that's the purpose of these award things. But anyways, so I was really excited about the novel list, and then I looked at the novella list, and I had only read one on the novella list, which was Even Though I Knew the End by C.L. Polk. So I decided to just casually, not for video, not for project, but just to read as many of the novellas as I could get my hands on, which was kind of challenging because they're not big imprints, they're smaller. But Pomegranates is one of the books on that list, which is a really interesting dystopian novella that is kind of a Greek retelling. So it's set in the future where climate change has really hit Earth, but then it's tied back to the Greek gods. So you have a Greek chorus element where they're telling you about pomegranates, and then there's Persephone's perspective where she's talking to this person named Bear who has recently come to the underworld, and she is telling Bear about her relationship with Hades. And then the other perspective is Demeter, who has been not enrolled, admitted to this asylum, I guess, and is being interviewed by this doctor about her experiences with her siblings and her daughter. Pretty grim, but I thought it was a really interesting take on a Greek myth retelling. And I think I gave it 3.75. It was very interesting. Nothing super spectacular, but I was very intrigued by the project. And then the other novella I'm trying to finish, and I am just struggling, is Navigational Entanglements by Aliette de Bodard. And this is her next novella. It comes out in July, I think, from Tor.com. And they sent me an e-arc of this book, which was very nice of them, and I really appreciate it. And I love this cover so much, but I'm struggling to read it. Not because of the writing, but because the way e-arcs are formatted, they are formatted for Kindle products, not for Kobo products, and so it just reads so funky on my Kobo, and it makes reading it, like just the act of reading, not as easy as I would like it to be. So not the book's fault, just the way publishing works, unfortunately. But I love her writing and I love her world building. She's so creative and imaginative, and I love the way she writes spaceships every time. Sometimes I think her writing is smarter than I am, because I struggle to comprehend a lot of the groundwork she is laying down. But again, I don't think that's a problem with her writing. I think that's a problem with me. But I also really love writers who make me feel dumb. Like, this is why Tamsin Muir is one of my favorite authors, because she just makes me feel so stupid and I love her for it. So Aliette kind of falls into the same category. So I'm trying to finish that today. And then I know I technically said I was reading A Gentleman in Moscow, but I haven't picked it up in 3 days. So I do really need to decide if I'm going to start devoting more time to it, or if I'm DNFing it. Soft DNFing it, not forever DNFing it. I would like to come back to it. I just don't know if literary historical fiction is the headspace I'm in right now. Maybe it'll be good for March when I'm just binge reading middle grade. Who knows? But anyways, that's the update for today. It's not very exciting. Hurting my back really threw me for a loop. The spouse and the children are playing Zelda, so I should probably use this valuable time to get some reading done. It's the final day for this little reading challenge. Yes, I'm still in my jammies and loving every minute of it. I finally finished Navigational Entanglements. Why did it take me 9 days to read this novella? I don't understand. I really liked the ending. At the end of the day, or beginning of the day, since it's the morning, I'm gonna give it a 3, which hurts. Aliette de Bodard is one of those authors that I always get really excited about her premises and her ideas. I think she's really creative. I think she's really imaginative, and I like her writing, but her books never have the impact that I feel like they're going to have. But I keep reading her because I'm so optimistic that the next book that I read will be the one that really hits. I felt that way about Red Scholar's Wake. I was really excited about that book and about the synopsis and about the world and the characters and what she had going on, but then it just didn't hit the way I wanted it to. And this one, yeah, even though there were so many things I didn't like it, there were so many things that I really liked about it, because we have this like space opera and it's based on a style of martial arts movie that I can never remember how to pronounce the name, so I'm not going to pronounce the name because it just won't end well. And we have a character who doesn't specifically say is on the autism spectrum, but reads like she's on the autism spectrum, which I always like finding that in main characters. And she has a problem connecting with people and forming relationships, and there's these big things called tanglers, and there's tentacles, and they're really menacing, and these Tanglers have been released, and so our main character and then these 4 other people from warring clans inadvertently band together to help take care of the Tangler. And so just the way technology was talked about was super interesting, and the relationships were really interesting. There's a sapphic relationship that I really loved how that was written, especially towards the end when all the feelings were being revealed. Like, that was so good, but it just didn't. And I liked the ending so much that I think when this comes out, I'm going to go back and listen to it on audio, because like I said earlier, there was something funky with my PDF where there were, in the characters, some of the characters' names, there'd be like an English letter and then a Chinese character and then 2 English letters, and I don't read Chinese, so I'm not quite sure what anybody's name is, because everybody's name had a Chinese character in it. And then there was another word that would have like an English letter and then have like a line, like a vertical line, and then a dash and then something else. So I don't know what was going on with the PDF, but like someone goofed. So I would listen to it on audio once it's out, because I think if I know what everybody's name is, I will be far less confused and it will make a lot more sense. Let's see. I don't remember exactly. Oh my gosh, puzzle. I don't remember exactly when this book comes out. I believe it's July. Let's see if it's on Storygraph. July 30th. Yeah, so it comes out July 30th. Yeah, I'll be looking out for the audiobook, because like I said, I'm always optimistic that the next book I read by her is going to be my new favorite book. Meanwhile, you saw in the B-roll from last night that I kind of redid some things with my reading list. I did decide to soft DNF A Gentleman in Moscow. I'll come back to it later. And I didn't read any of these Violent Delights yesterday, but I did pick up The Lord of Stariel by A.J. Lancaster, and I picked it up on a whim because I just needed an audiobook that was a little bit more easily readable. I feel like I really have to pay attention for these Violent Delights, but I started the audio for this, and oh, it's good. So this is my favorite type of fantasy, which is, it's not set in our world, but it is set in a very like Victorian era coded world. So lots of rules, lots of ways that you're supposed to behave, lots of manners, but there's magic and there's fairies. And our main character, Henrietta, is coming back home to her family's estate because her father, who she had a very contentious relationship with, has just passed away, and they need to have his funeral and then go through a ritual called the choosing, where the land is going to pick who the next Lord of Stariel is, because there always needs to be a lord and the land always picks a lord. And there's a lot of tension because a lot of people are vying for that title, and it could be the land could pick one of her father's siblings, though that doesn't happen very often. Mostly the land chooses somebody in a younger generation. But then Henrietta's older brother is a potential candidate, and then she has a cousin who is also a candidate, and there's a lot of like really messy family relationships, which I dig. And then there's kind of like a love triangle being like the framework is being laid down. I know I already have a first choice. So I also have some predictions about my first choice, and I don't know, I'm liking it so much. It's like the stakes feel a little bit higher, but it's reminding me of the feelings I had when I read Half a Soul. And Half a Soul was 5 stars for me, and I loved it so much. So here's hoping. February is going to be my month of reading books that I really loved, because January I read a lot of books I liked, but not very many books I loved. And so hopefully Butcher and Blackbird is starting a trend. Fingers crossed. So, let's see. My youngest is at my parents' house. They had a sleepover. We have a haircut appointment for my oldest, and I don't know what we're gonna do. We don't have to pick up my youngest until this afternoon, so hopefully we'll just have like a lazy reading day. So the reading challenge ended yesterday and I did not make it, which I'm sure is no surprise to anybody. But I managed, as I think you saw, about 17 hours and 11 minutes, so not too shabby. But I wanted to wait to close out the vlog until I had finished The Lord of Stariel by A.J. Lancaster, which I just now finished, and I loved this book so much. It's so good. I'm gonna go order book 2. I guess it's like part of a five book series. Who knew? But apparently I'm reading a new series now. And some of this was predictable, but in a really comforting way. Like, I kind of knew what the ending was going to be, and that really allowed me to just be along for the ride and not get too stressed out about what was happening in the book. It's got a very sweet romance. Like, if Butcher and Blackbird romance is on one end of the spectrum, like, this romance is on the entirely other end of the spectrum, where it's just really cozy and sweet and very low spice. Like, there is just kissing in this book, and you have to wait for it. So I really liked it. I definitely want to read book 2. Or I did until my book assaulted me. Okay. Anyways, I'm giving it 4.5 stars. I don't think I said that yet. So it was great. If you like, I know I said Half a Soul earlier, and I would even say similar to the Lady Isabella Trent books, maybe even a little bit similar to Emily Wilde, and not in the way that the main character is a like academic in any ways, because for those 2 books that is what the main character is, but just in that like cozy fantasy historical, it's our world but also kind of not our world, or not our world but structured similar to our world. So all in all, I think we have a second reading challenge in a row that is that's dinner, that is not quite for me. I didn't super love reading on the timer, so I don't think I'll be participating in this kind of reading challenge again, but now I know, and now I can say that I have attempted to participate in one of these. I definitely felt like the clock, having the clock or the timer component triggered my contrary nature, and I wasn't wanting to read very much this weekend, but now today, once that timer was no longer a thing, I was really motivated to read. So yeah, learning new things about myself every day. It's great. Highly recommend. But I did finish 4 books this weekend. I finished Butcher and Blackbird, which is a new favorite. I finished the 2 novellas, Pomegranates and Navigational Guidance, and now The Lord of Stariel. Yes, okay, the day after, but you know, close enough. Thank you for watching and spending your time with me. I hope you enjoyed this little reading challenge. If you would like to leave a comment to let me know you're here, or like to leave an emoji to let me know you're here, let's do a star emoji, and I will talk to you all in the next one. Bye.